This is Dr. James with Helpmommy.com. And if you like these videos, please like, follow us, check out my book, The Big Book of Why for Parents on Amazon. But this is video number 1 of 5 for 6 months old. And this is where things get exciting because a 6-month-old and on, they move so fast in all kinds of things. And today what we're going to talk about is feeding a 6-month-old. Now, usually by 6 months, they should still, as far as milk, be drinking either formula or breast milk. Now, there are some differences in that a 6-month-old can now handle free fluids, free water, meaning that they can adjust their sodium, potassium, their electrolytes, so that if they get a little extra water that doesn't have all those carefully regulated electrolytes, they're not going to have a seizure, have problems with it. So at 6 months, a baby can have 4 to 6 ounces of juice or water. Now, the thing to remember is they need none. They're getting all the water they need through their breast milk or their formula, but it's okay to introduce them to this. And we really like to introduce water and juice via a sippy cup. And so this is kind of a reward for learning to do something different. Usually in the point of breast milk or formula, this is usually when a baby is going to drink the most they're ever going to drink. As they start eating foods from now on, they're going to start decreasing how much milk they drink. By the time they're a year old, they may be down to half of what they're drinking right now. If you're breastfeeding, still need to be doing vitamin D drops because, again, breast milk is just deficient in vitamin D for your baby. Formula-fed babies are going to be getting their vitamin D through their formula. This is when pretty much everybody agrees that it's time to introduce foods. Now, I like the term baby-led weaning. I don't necessarily like the book Baby-Led Weaning because that's not really baby-led weaning, that's mommy-led weaning. But baby-led weaning, in its truest sense, is that you follow your baby's cues and you let their development decide when you should start things. So to start baby foods, we want a baby that can hold up their head, and we want a baby that shows interest in food. And most 6-month-olds are going to be there. As far as the baby-led weaning that people think of, you find that only about 65% of babies are able to do anything that has much texture to it or be able to feed themselves anything. So for the majority of babies, they're going to do best with purees and mommy or daddy feeding them here in the beginning. In the beginning, they're not going to eat much, not because they couldn't, we'd let them, but most of them are just not going to be interested in it. They're going to be getting tastes, if anything, although other babies are voracious eaters and just go after it like crazy. My recommendation is you let them decide. When you start feeding them solid foods, they're going to let you know when they're done. They're going to spit it back at you, or they're going to clench their mouth and tell you that they don't want any more. We're usually going to start off with once a day. How do you decide when you're going to do it? Usually I tell people when you're going to have the most time, because in the beginning you're going to be putting it in, scraping, putting more in, scraping, putting more in, and it takes a lot of time because they're not very efficient eaters. After they get the hang of it, they're going to be able to do it much quicker. As far as how you introduce, it just depends. Everybody has their own viewpoint. Me personally, I usually recommend going green vegetables, then orange yellows, and then fruits. The only reason for that is babies just love sugar, and so I'm going from the least amount of sugar to the most amount of sugar. By the time I'm 9 months old, I want to have babies up to 3 meals a day of solid foods, but again, we'll talk about that for the 9-month videos, varies hugely in how much they're going to eat. But here in the beginning, they're not going to eat much solid foods. They're still going to be mostly either formula or breastfed. But as they get where they eat more foods, we just let them. And so when they like that first time, then we let them eat a second time. And when they like that, then we let them eat a third time. And if they want more than one container, if you're doing store brand baby food, then we buy a bigger one or we buy more and do more variety. At this point, the only food that we stay away from is honey, and that's because of botulism. And there is really honey in any form, so we avoid that. But that is what we do for food. There's still formula or breast milk. We're going to start introducing solid foods. Once they get good at setting up, they're not falling, that's when we can start giving them things that are more like finger foods. And I usually start off with things that can kind of dissolve just until they get used to it. So this is when I do like my yogurt bites, my veggie sticks, things like that, so that they can try and feed themselves. And as they don't have any teeth, or as they learn to do stuff, they kind of dissolve and they're able to eat them. And then once they get better at that, then I start advancing more and more texture stuff. They have found that if you wait too much longer after this, that babies will start to have texture avoidances where they don't like texture against their tongue and they start to gag. So there is kind of this window in that 6 months to 9 months where we definitely want to get them started with baby food, table food, things like that, so that their palate expands and that the texture doesn't bother them and they don't gag. So hopefully that helps you.